was alive, rock and roll. So let's welcome Damage Good.
Hey, smartest guy in the show.
He's my emotional support puppet. Who are these guys?
I don't know. Who the hell are these guys? That bass player I heard about?
Base hole.
Yeah, easy, Artie.
Hey, who are you?
Scotty Fietsam.
Are you Scotty Itchy Feet, Stinky Feet I hear all about?
That's right.
Yeah, well, don't pop a bone. None of it's been too good. I've been hearing a lot of stuff about you.
All right, that's it, Artie. You're out.
Hey, what's that?
Artie, why is the table rising?
All right, get
He's got a little wood. He's got a little wood. Get it?
Sorry, Scott. How did he get in here?
That's a pretty funny joke, and nobody heard it.
I heard it.
Just sit down and shut up. My emotional support puppet. What's up, guys?
When did you pick up the mannequin? Literally.
Many years ago. It's we use it for a camp we go to. So he does a lot of skits and has a lot of videos on certain channels and stuff.
And I thought you guys are going to be playing at the Addison Rock and Wheels. Am I right about that?
Correct. I got those.
July 3rd?
You know, we'll start at the beginning. Me and Scott have known each other since third grade. So 1977 to 80, we had a band called Rage. We were in high school. You know, we're dating ourselves a little here, I guess.
What high school?
Glenbard North. Did the first Glendale Heights Fest back in, I don't know what year was it?
1979.
1979, they had the first Glendale Heights Fest, and it was just a tent and a mud pit, 4 taco vendors, and a mud pit. And we were just doing whatever, REO Speedwagon, Ted Nugent,
Nugent, Zeppelin,
stuff like that.
Thin Lizzy, yeah.
You know, so
Nice.
you know, we had a female singer, Jimmy Davidson was on bass. We had a guitar player. We don't even remember his name. We just called him Lip.
Mitch?
A lip, I guess. I don't know.
No, yeah, when he played, he hung his lip out.
Yeah.
So Mike and I just referred to him as Lip. His name was Mike,
Oh, was it?
but I don't remember the last name.
Yeah. And so after that, about 85 to 90, we had a band called Satin Steel, which we did originals and covers. And actually, in the first band, I was a drummer, and I was a drummer for probably 8 years. And then I started singing in Satin Steel, and because we couldn't find a singer, so I gave it a shot. I actually, funny story. I took some lessons with a church lady, right, who had an apartment across from Glenbard North, and I say, I'll take some lessons to try to figure this thing out. So I'm doing, Amazing Grace and blah, blah, blah. Well, church lady didn't think it was, wasn't that special. Let's just put it that way, right? So she kind of told me, okay, maybe you better not sing. Maybe you better go back to the drums. And so that didn't work out so well. But I stuck. And look, you just showed up, the legend of Chicago music.
Mike Dermott.
Michael D.
What up?
He's in the house. Look at this. We got Scotty Speeds along with Mikey K. What's going on, kids?
And a lot of pedals.
A lot of pedals, man.
Yeah.
So Krauser started as a drummer, and then every once in a while he'd sing a song, and we played "He's a Woman, She's a Man" by the Scorpions, and he could sing it and drum. And it's like, man, you sound like Klaus. He was looking for any reason to get out from behind the drums, because the drums, drummers got to haul all that stuff around and everything. So he comes out in the second band, Satin Steel, as a singer, takes some lessons. And in that band, the guys come to me and they go, yeah, he's not cutting it. He's got to go. And Mike and I were thick as thieves. And I said, well, if he goes, then I go, thinking, they said, okay, you're out.
You pulled an empty gun, man. You pulled an empty gun, brother.
Yeah. So after the church lady gave me the boot, said, this isn't so special. I'm trying. I'm doing Amazing Grace. And she's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna work out. Maybe you better stick to the drums. And so I just stuck with it. So we did that till like 85 to 90. We did originals, we did covers. We had Jimmy D on bass, Feats on guitar, Jeff Kirby on guitar. So after that, the Damaged Goods came along, and from 90 to 93, we did reunion shows till like 2015. And we had Billy Bruneman on the bass, Feats on guitar, Tom Runge, who's now with Voyage and Mojo, and on the rocks. Danny, who's with Bad Motor Scooter, was on drums. And we used to play in Elgin at the Bruneman's house. So this is kind of a funny story. I'm walking downstairs and I see this big family picture, and I see their sister, right? I'm like, wow. I go, who's that? I mean, she's something else. And Danny says, that's my sister. Don't even think about it. And I just said, well, you know what? Now I think I'm going to date her and marry her out of spite just because he said that. And pretty much that's what happened. And 33 years later, of course, she's still around. She's a saint, and she's, always been the best thing that's ever happened to me. And
But what about what's the Brandmeier thing?
the Brandmeier story.
Remember we did a whole lot of Kilman.
Gonna tell you a story about a newsman I know.
Who gonna be?
When it comes to headlines, oh, he steals the show. He ain't exactly pretty, ain't exactly tall. More than Loop Johnny B playing hop, you can see he's got it all. He's a whole lot of newsman, whole lot of newsman, whole lot of Kilman, whole lot of Kilman, whole lot of Kilman. He's a whole lot of buzz man.
Oh, yeah. Scotty Fietsam and Mike Krauser, they call themselves Damaged Goods.
Uh-huh.
It's Scott Fietsam, John.
Well, how do you know? Mr. Morbid, Mr. Sleepy Eyes, Mr. Droopy, Mr. Lethargic, how do you know?
Because they're friends of mine, and tonight
Well, you keep them off this station.
they'll be playing at the Interaction Lounge tonight at 9:30.
Yeah, where are you
Stone
going to
Park.
be? Taking some NyQuil and a couple of shots of Jack and putting yourself under, you little burnout punk? Hey!
Gonna tell you a story about a newsman I know. When it comes to headlines,
Where are they playing tonight?
Interaction Lounge in Stone Park. It's open till 5 o'clock. One of the weirdest audiences I've ever seen.
One of the weirdest bands I've ever heard.
Yeah! More than Loop Johnny B playing hop, you can see he's got it all.
WLUB Chicago, 7 o'clock.
And it's a how Buzz used to, before he did the news, people would send songs in, right? So we did a whole lot of Rosie, we did a whole lot of Kilman, and Swanee was one of our friends from high school. John, Swanee was the producer. And so he
got us in.
He got us in. Later down the line, we did some stuff with War Pigs, where we played at that Irish bar that he had.
Riley's daughter.
Yeah, Riley's daughter.
But we were trying to make it.
Yeah.
Damaged Goods. That was back in the days when you would send a Sunday cassette tape. And so Swanee was our in. He got our stuff to Brandmeier. And that's as far as we got. And it ended up we just did limericks.
Yeah.
So that was at that point we said, all right, well.
Yeah, so the clip we sent you is him actually, Brandmeier actually listening to it and commenting and telling Swanee, keep these guys off our station and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. We'll tell the Brandmeier story about the TV show. Probably none of you remember, Johnny B had an NBC show for like a blink of an eye, right? Well, Ted Nugent was the house band, right? So we got tickets to go be in the audience, right? So we're sitting there, and even Johnny would tell you the show kind of horrible, At least that's why it didn't last. But I love Johnny B, but he would probably tell you the same thing. So we're sitting there, and I just said something to Scott like, "Man, I'm just here to see Ted," and he goes, "Yeah, me too." And this lady next to me says, "Oh, you like Ted?" I go, "Yeah, we love Ted." And he pulls out his picture of his flying V against a Nugent poster, right? She goes, "Oh, you want to meet him?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, I'm his wife." And I'm looking at her, I'm like, I'm believing it because, you know, she's a pretty beautiful lady. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, we want to meet him, right?" So after the show, we go down and he's sitting on the drum riser, just fiddling around. And, you know, we go, "Hey, hey, Ted." And I brought up at 1977 at Soldier Field. To this day, I still say, if they would have recorded that show, it would be like our Woodstocks. It was unbelievable. So you had Journey opening up. I think it was even before Steve Perry. You had 38 Special. You had REO Speedwagon right when You Get What You Play For came out. You had Leonard Skinner 2 months before The Crash. And then you had Nugent come on and right when Free For All came out. It was unbelievable. It was, you know, the great thing about it, it was like a really hot day. So these milk jugs just came out, the gallon milk jugs. Everyone had water. This is when you could bring water and you weren't charge $8 for a water, right? So by the time Nugent came out, these jugs were all empty and people just started winging these things, and thousands and thousands. It's like anyone who was there, it was just a giant popcorn ball, right? They had, and Nugent's up there, "Come on, motherfucker, just keep throwing." You know, he's like egging it on. There's guys, he's knee deep in these things. Guys are sweeping sweeping it off the stage. And as hard as I can look to find video or pictures of it, it's very rare. There's hardly any pictures of any of the jugs except for one like a behind the stage shot where you could see them, you could see all the jugs. It was, to this day, nothing's ever come close to that. So with that being said, I talked to Ted. I was like, "Ted, Soldier Field 77. The minute I said that, he said, the milk jugs. And it was just, you know, Ted's he's very witty and fast talking, you know, and just, you know, very articulate, right? So, you know, we talked to him a little bit, and they went to get his autograph, and I have no paper. So to this day, I still have the speeding ticket he signed back back in the day. I got it in my book. You know, it's all faded and stuff, but I mean, incredible. I mean, I just wish someone would have recorded that show. It was just incredible.
We have to put a call out there to all of our listeners for the Ted Nugent Milk Jug Jamboree 1977 at Soldier Field. Get us the video, or it didn't happen.
Oh, yeah, or a picture or something.
Well, yeah, people didn't
definitely
travel
the right
with, you know, you didn't have
audience.
cell phones, so you didn't have people take pictures of everything nowadays.
Oh
Back
yeah,
then,
now it would be all over.
yeah, I mean, you're right, exactly. It would go viral. But nobody had it back then. I never traveled with a camera.
You didn't? Oh, I took a camera everywhere I go. You just never
did.
Need one.
But I'm gonna finalize that by saying that was July of '77, and that was the thing that really inspired Mike and us to say we want to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was a series, because it was a Super Bowl of Rock series. So there was another one, Pink Floyd, and they had the pig like cabled across. And there was another one, Peter Frampton, where they got a little rowdy too. But he handled it a little different from Nugent. He was stopping the show, where Nugent was just like, he don't care. He was just,
don't you miss those days when they had like Monsters of Rock? When I lived in California, they had Day on the Green. It was the same kind of thing at Oakland Coliseum, and they would have, you know, 6 or 7 bands, and it was chaos, man. I guess they kind of do that stuff with Lollapalooza, but not like when we were growing up, man. I don't think you'll ever see those kind of events again.
Chicago Fest.
Yeah, maybe.
Come on, man. Stack the cups, walking up and down the pier, flipping off Jane Byrne. Are you kidding me?
Do they still do that kind of stuff though, Pete? I mean, we're still going back to the old days.
No, they just flip off everybody now.
That's right. That's right.
I think we date you guys a little, because I mean, we actually seen Def Leppard when they still had Pete Willis with Ozzy.
I thought you were going to say when the drummer had 2 arms.
Yeah, well, that too. That too.
We did.
But, you know, it was when they, you know, their big mantra when they came out. I mean, they had a song called Wasted, which, you know, hear anyone playing, and they had a song called Rock Brigade.
Yeah.
Pete Willis was their mantra was the average age of the band was 17 years old.
Mhm.
Little Pete Willis, the guitar was almost bigger than him. Great stuff.
Well, so you guys, I kind of jumped in here late, so I apologize if I'm, just catching myself up. I heard you mention Damaged Goods a couple times. That's when I met you guys. I can't even remember what year it was when I first met Scott, and then subsequently I met you, Mike. When was that, Scott? About 2006, 2007?
Yeah, we were doing reunion shows then, so we would get together once a year, and it was just a reason to go out and get our friends together and party. And then us guys all got together. We all got along great, which was unusual. But yeah, we ran into each other. I'm not exactly sure who introduced us, but
Well, it was Total Sports that we did a show with Val Kyer.
Yep.
And to this day, other than Nugent at the Aragon, I've never seen a sound guy play or have a louder system. I got tinnitus on that day, I think.
Yeah.
Unbelievably loud. And I remember seeing you guys and just blew me away. I was like, man, who is this guy?
Because people weren't playing that kind of music back when you guys were rocking, and that band you mentioned, Valkyrie, which was myself, Tavo Paul, Tony. I think Tony Mock was in the band at the time. And was Knighty might have been our drummer. I can't remember, but people just weren't playing that good old, late 80s, late 70s, early 80s hard rock, which I guess you can call heavy metal today. But, you mentioned Def Leppard doing Wasted and covering AC/DC and Riot and UFO. Yeah, you get a few bands playing that stuff. But back then, man, that was cutting edge, deep cuts rock, man.
Yeah, that was Damaged Goods. We really had a hold on Stay Out West back in the day with old Uncle Steve. Like in the video that you showed at the beginning, there's a little piece of Uncle Steve, and we played that Stay Out West that was our place, like our home base.
Right.
So,
now you guys went to high school together, right? Didn't you and Scott? Right.
Third grade. Yeah.
Third grade, high school.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now I live in the town where you guys pretty much grew up, right? You both went to Glenbard North.
Yeah.
Where my stepdaughters go to school. Scott, you grew up in Glendale Heights, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Mikey, I knew you were in Carroll Stream for a while because we used to run into each other over at the Fountains Gym, right?
I did my 30 years at the water department, and part of the perk was that when they opened the new gym down the road, I would always run into you. Hey man, what are you doing here?
And it always, whenever we always talked about music, and that was a time when you were on a hiatus, you weren't doing anything. I'm like, I always thought, what a tremendous waste of talent, because I know, no, seriously, because you're one of those guys. I would go out and watch you guys a couple times, even before Scott and I started jamming in Valkyrie later, I'd come out and watch you guys, and I was always impressed with your singing. So when I would see you, I'm like, what are you doing? Nothing. But then, you kind of resurfaced, and Pete was going in that, I don't want to take over your story. I know you got a whole list of stuff you want to talk about.
I'm overly organized here.
Yeah, no, that's good though. But I mean, you have really kind of, you've taken the industry by storm here a little bit with your Scorpions, man. And I got to be honest with you, you've always been one of those guys that I looked at as a great singer. I never knew you had that voice. I knew you had a good voice, but I never knew you had that voice. And when I first heard you hit that Klaus Mines, I was like, holy shit, where did that come from, man?
Appreciate that, but I did, there was a hiatus. The section you're talking about was like a 7-year hiatus, because after Damaged Goods ended in 93, you guys know Jeff Neal from War Pigs. We created Livewire, which was a Motley Crue tribute, but and in the video you could see the insane pyros. We had this dude named Spider who, I think half our pay went to him to blow. And if you see it in the video, it's just insane. These, explosions and fire shooting up 8 feet, and then Great White kind of ruined that.
I was gonna say.
So we had Jeff Neal was the guitar player there. We had Mike Torp, who's in Arizona now doing School of Rock, but he played in a lot of great drummer. Paul Vega was on bass. But that was one of the funnest bands, just because of the pyros, and we did, the all dress up stuff and just crazy.
Right, but it was the same thing he was saying.
Yeah.
Because he could sing that Scorpions, he could also do that Vince Neil. And that's why he, because he had that range. He could mock that guy.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Did you guys ever set anything on fire with the pyrotechnics?
No.
Did you guys, nothing? Nobody's hair got on fire?
No, there used to be a place called Synergy in West Chicago, had a great stage, right?
Still
Right
there.
on 38. I know that
What's
place.
it called now?
It's
It's
still
called
there.
something else, a something club.
I think it's the Clothes Club. Is it even open anymore? I mean, I just
That's
passed a while
social.
ago.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
West
it's
Chicago.
Social club.
Same place? Oh,
Yeah.
there you
No,
still in
is
the
it? No, you're thinking of WC Social. That's on.
Yeah.
It's not the same as that place.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, so that was a real fun band. And the same guys in that band created Wall of Sound, which was kind of like, this is when the Pearl Jam was coming on the scene. So it was kind of an all original alternative band, again, with Jeff Neal, Tom Signorelli, Dale Lesko.
Yeah,
Was that
Dale.
his name? Dale. Great drummer. And
That's the group, that's the War Pigs guys.
the original War Pigs guys, which are still together, minus the bass player, who was so entertaining to watch. I actually thought he was like the devil. He scared me. He would just hunch down and he chew, blood pills, and he was he was the greatest stage performer I think I've ever seen in my life, because he was a great bass player. So these are all originals that they wrote, we wrote, Chuck Neal wrote, and that took us into the War Pigs era, which was like 98 to 2000. And there is one good story about them, is, back in those days, we actually started at Penny Road Pub at midnight. Midnight, that's the start time.
That was like the
3
headliner,
a.m.
man.
3
That's a
a.m.
headliner.
3 a.m. straight. So, and it's just this crazy. I mean, we would go home and the birds.
Well,
would
yeah, we
chirp.
do War Pigs always did 3 hours straight. That's just what they did.
Yeah.
But that night we played, it was the night that the clocks, it was fall back. And so we played, and if you played Penny Road, Michael, the crowd turns over around 1 o'clock or 1:30 because all the other bars close and everybody comes, and now you gotta,
all the drunks coming.
and here comes.
That's what happens.
Right.
And they're playing UFC. Like, that's great to get them all jacked up on violence now. So actually, when we were with the Scorps, this is when this incident happened. So Jay, which is a great guitar player, he did some work with Keel. I don't know if you ever know.
Yeah,
Ron Keel. So he was touring with him, and we were just having a good show. And he went down to the bar to get a beer, and there was this girl who seemed to be causing crap all night with everybody, and he must have just grazed her, and she kind of had a fit. And I kind of had a pretty calm guy, right? So I went down and I told him, get her out of here. And then she started on me, and then I say something to her, and then all of a sudden her 10-foot boyfriend comes up. He comes over the top, boom, clips, and it turns into a rugby match, back and forth. I get thrown out of my own show, essentially, which is a great story. It's like they didn't know who was that threw me out. I had to go into the back door and knock. I say, hey, can I come get my equipment? And he's like, who are you? I'm like, we were playing, and we got kicked out. So that's kind of funny. I had to actually weasel my way back in just to get my equipment from getting thrown out in the rugby match.
But that was the same thing as you said, Mike. So Mike, Krauser was out there. He was getting noticed. People saw his voice, heard his voice, and then the War Pigs, who really had a great following at the time, their singer left the band, and Jeff Neal knew Mike sang in the Scorps. So, which was, I'm kind of getting ahead here, but we went out of order. We formed a Scorpions band in the late 90s because he could sing it. So there was a Scorps, and that was the name of our band, and we played.
Very original, Scorps.
Yeah.
Well, at least you know what you're getting for, right? When you buy the ticket, you know what you're getting.
But yeah, we were, I don't know, we might have headlined a couple of shows, but mainly we were a backup act. You know, but everybody went tribute in that time, remember? I mean, so we just like, fuck it, we're gonna sell out too, and we're gonna go. Ultimately, Jeff Neal saw him enough to, we would want to back up War Pigs anywhere we could, because they had the Saturday night, nice venues, huge crowds, and we could get great exposure. And
we did the NBC Fest with them, which is a national boys club down in the city. So we would double, you know, we play, they play, really nice crowds, just crazy crowds. And, you know,
but ultimately War Pigs had a better deal, and Scorps wasn't really going anywhere. And Jeff Neal asked Mike to come sing for them, and then off he went to War Pigs.
Yeah. And this is about the time where I think you're talking about, Mike, where we would see at the gym where I wasn't doing nothing. But I was, you know, when you work in public works, you work a lot of hours, and I might have young kids.
Well, that's, you know, life sometimes gets in the way of us having fun, and we have to, you know, grow up and be adults.
Screw that. Hey, boys, I don't want to give away anybody's ages here, but in the 80s, when you went to high school, you had different factions. First of all, everybody wore a concert T-shirt, but there was the Led Zeppelin T-shirts, there was the Rush T-shirts. They ate lunch together. Then you had Iron Maiden and maybe Scorpions, Black Sabbath. They kind of hung out.
Judas Priest.
Yeah, go through the different, because Iron Maiden, that was harsher than the Scorpions in my. Scorpions were more popular, but Iron Maiden was harsher. Why don't you go through all the different genres to explain to the crowd that watches our show, that's about 5% that are under the age of 40. Okay, I wore a Rush T-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wore an Aerosmith shirt, a Nugent shirt, Scorpion shirts that are like in rags now, you know. So yeah, it was kind of, you know, you go back and you know, if you watch some of these documentaries on the 70s, I mean, just the styles.
So if I had to pick T-shirts I didn't wear a lot of concert T-shirts because I was kind of a poor kid, so I couldn't afford them.
Me either. I stole them.
Good man. But if I was going to wear them, I mean, there's probably 4 T-shirts I would have worn. At first, it would have been Motley Crue. I was a huge Motley Crue fan, man. I mean, that when they hit the scene with "Shout at the Devil," because I didn't catch on to the first album, that was it, right? Iron Maiden for sure. Ronnie James Dio. I would have had a Dio T-shirt. Of course, my beloved Y&T. Those were the 4 bands. If I look from '81 until, well, for Y&T today, but you know, through my high school days, that was the music that I was playing all the time. Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that, Pete, because you said that Iron Maiden was kind of the heavier of those bands. And you know what? I love the Scorps. I mean, I would play Love It First Sting, that album, over and over and over again, right? I saw the Scorps back in the day. But Iron Maiden was always one of those bands. I never really considered them. They came across as like a devil-worshipping heavy metal band, but their music was just so freaking cool, man. Steve Harris was such a great writer, and I would just get lost in that music. And the same with Ronnie James Dio, right? He came from that blues, Sabbathy kind of, you know, Elf and Rainbow, so he kind of had that blues rock. But man, when Holy Diver hit the charts, I was like, holy shit, this is what it's all about.
I had the Holy Diver T-shirt.
Oh, that's funny because there used to be a place called Toto's, right?
Oh yeah.
And Ronnie James Dio played at Toto's.
I saw him there.
Right? Were you there?
Yes, so, I was.
Me and Scott were there, and like, you know, we had black T-shirts on, and you know,
was it Jackhammers at the time, or was it still Toto's?
Could have been. I don't know. It could have been one or the other.
I know what you're talking about, right there on Algonquin Road and Roselle, Meacham. Yeah.
So Scott has a way of weaseling. He can weasel in any place. We've got up in first, second roll, just weaseling. So we had black. He goes, hey, why don't we pretend like we're security? And I'm like, well, no one's gonna think I'm like some tough guy. But it's like, well, let's go with it. So we stood on the stairs on either side of, you know, and every now and then you'd survey the audience like you're doing something. But we stood there for the whole Ronnie James Dio concert, literally on the steps leading up to the stage, and we just Because he just has a way of,
Well, a guy came up and he goes, "You guys security?" We go, "Yeah."
yeah, yeah. So
He
he
says,
just,
"All right, keep everybody off here." We go, "Yep, we got it."
Got you covered.
We were younger, built better, and had, black shirts on and fit the bill. And we had the best seats in the house for that show.
How did MTV come into play for you guys?
yeah. Well, MTV kind of changed the whole face landscape to some extent, because now it became more, I think it came more of like, okay, we need to do, more of a visual thing.
You need to look a certain way.
I mean, for instance, who's the girls that just want to have fun girl?
Cindy
Poison? Poison? Oh,
Yeah.
No.
And Madonna and,
Cindy Lauper.
Cindy Lauper, because they had a style and they had a look, right? And then, it also destroyed careers like Billy Squier when he put that one video out. He was on a roll and then he put that out and it just went poof, gone, know. And, but, everyone, that was the thing. We didn't have 18,000 channels. We had MTV and you had VH1 maybe. And,
VH1 wasn't around at that time.
no. That's a great question that Pete asked, though, because I can remember, that period of time when MTV, not the video killed the radio stuff, but, soon after, one of the first bands that rock that caught my attention was Rat. I mean, they did Round and Round and Lay It Down. I think about that, when I think about how my music was kind of being crafted, or I would say my show was being crafted at that period of time, I would kind of want the Rat look. That's before it really got into, the Poison and all the
glam
and stuff like that. What were you guys doing, Mike and Scott, when that stuff? Were you guys kind of emulating anything that was happening on MTV? Like, okay, we know our music's good, but we kind of need this look, maybe not quite over the top with the Aquanet. Were you guys doing anything like that? No fishnet, of course.
No, I think what that did for us is, like Mike said, the visual. And this when we played, this put us on the path of we have to have some choreography up there on songs where we're rocking together or doing this, or one guy's on his knee, and we put together, as opposed to standing there and not doing anything, it put us on the path of we got to put on a visual show.
Right. Well, and Scott, you were always good with that with a flying V. I can still see you there rocking that thing out back and forth, which going to the Scorps. And I definitely want to talk more about Big City Nights, but that's like Rudolph Schenker, right? I mean, just totally cranking that V back and forth.
I'll give a shout out to, in 2011 to 2013, we had a band called Metamorphosis. You were talking about the Iron Maiden and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we did. Jeff Neal was a part of that too. Michael Hunter, Jeff Lingle was on bass. I think Ron Warford, great drummer. And we did stuff like that. Iron Maiden,
Judas Priest,
Judas Priest, and we had a good time, but after a couple of years, this guy goes that way,
Right.
And then that kind of morphed into Nasty Habits, where we had Jeff Bravo, Michael Hunter, Jeff Lingle, and we did similar stuff, but maybe not as much really like Iron Maiden, kind of really heavy stuff. Then there was another little break, at least for me, at 2015 and that's when I started noting, I tried out for this band called No Direction, and that worked out for a while, and then the guy decided to move to Florida. So now we're pretty getting close to 2019, 2018, and I noticed my brother-in-law Danny playing with Bad Motor Scooter, or like getting into that, and I was like, God, man, he's having a blast, right? And I'm like, so that was kind of, I gotta say, I was a little jealous. I was like, man, look at it, he's having a good time. I was like, I gotta get back into this thing, right? So when I watched one of your podcasts, and Mike, you mentioned something like, okay, what makes you different, right? Like if you're a cover band, what can you do different? So I thought of this concept of heavy covers of covers, which turned into On the Rocks in 2022. And I got Tom Runge again and Al Hamilton, Al, he's Voyage, and brought in Bill Bruneman, and we got Jose Perez from the Hobo Junkies, a nice solid drummer. it took a while to get going because we went through 3 or 4 drummers, just problems with timing, and it was kind of a train wreck. So we, I don't know if you heard of a guy named Jorn. He's just this great guitar player, and he did a version of Hotel California that's just awesome, right? Just heavy, down-tuned. And so I go, let's do that. Let's find these covers of covers. So like Vince Neil, Bitches Back. Let's do these 2 Beatles songs by Godsmack. Band called Lillian Axe, who did No Matter What, right? So I scour the internet for days and days, finding all these songs, and it's like, it really worked. I mean, everywhere we went, they liked it, but it was just a matter of, the oversaturation of bands. It's like, even, the Hobo Junkies, which was a good band when we started, it's like, it was just hard to get bookings. 10 years ago, you can call up, Joey or whoever and say, hey, we want to play Wannabes, or we want to play this, and you can get in. But it got really hard to get booked, right? So, we did, our claim to fame with that band is we did black up Blue Oyster Cult at the Displays Theater and the Arcada, which was a great experience. So Al kind of got us in there somehow. So that was a great experience. And we're still playing. We played a couple months ago, but it's just a time thing that we just can't play that often, right? So we're looking, and when we find the dates, it's hard to fill them because, oh, well, something's not available. So, so that's still going. But the same time as when I went and checked out the Hobo Junkies, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to try to juggle these 2 bands, which I did. And then same thing. Couldn't, we would play Empty Barrels, and then now they closed down, right?
Empty Pockets.
So I just told these guys,
You beat me to it.
yeah,
I knew I was waiting for it, Pete. I was waiting.
What's that?
It's not Empty Barrels, it's Empty Pockets. They went out of business. They got no money.
They love it when you play. They just don't want to pay you.
That's right.
Oh, I
Thing is pay to play.
I used to call it Mount Barrels because I didn't know any better.
Mount Barrels, I like it.
Mount Barrels, empty. I didn't know empty.
Boys, did you ever play the Whale?
No. I went to the Whale. It's funny because you remember Odette, the band Odette.
Oh yeah, I know Mark really well.
He's in Florida now, but I used to coach against his team in Little League. And
wow.
It was a pretty good time, but they were a hot band, man, back then, and it was a whole different kind of, original bands thrive, right? Now not so much, but there is a coming back,
Brian.
Rock House, and you got bands like Midnight Calls, Wreck with Dan Leniger, who was the My Metal Heart, fantastic singer. Right.
Love Danny.
You got Pete's Diary. You got, it's
Blockchain
great.
Coalition with Tony Engel and Ron Thomas from Valeside. They've got a new project.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love going to see original bands because, I would, you go to these fests, it's kind of like, it's kind of a little bit similar a lot of times. It's like, there's nothing that like over the top or original. So
Right.
I'd really like to see that coming back. But that being said, I went to the Hobo Junkies guys, man. Great bunch of guys, Brian, David, Eric, Adam Witt's an animal on the drums, Eric on bass. I said, if you guys want to play good places, let's just come up with a 90-minute Scorpion set and see where it goes. And the light bulb went off, and we just said, yeah, let's give it a shot. Because easy for me, I know most of the stuff. Not so
wait. Let me ask. So the Hobo Junkies morphed into Big City. Oh, okay. Because I of course I knew of Hobo Junkies. Mike Mojo O'Brien sang there for a while. He left the band. And it was during COVID, right? So and I knew when they did the comeback. You were singing with them, right? And which was awesome because I was like, oh my God, Krauser's back. Finally, he took my advice. All of a sudden, Hobo Junkies is kind of, you don't hear much about them, but now you're starting to see this rise of big city nights. And I think that was about the time that you did a Coterie event with us too, right? I mean, that was kind of right in the beginning. Yeah.
And we did the 6 strings. Well, we did the Coterie where I did a couple Dio songs.
Yep.
And I just get, you know, I don't know. It's just, I must have listened to those songs 20 times each. Just like, don't screw it up. Don't screw it up.
It's rock and roll. Nobody cares.
And then we did the 6 strings where we did the Scorpion stuff. A couple of guys weren't there, but T.D. Clark filled in.
Yep.
And, you know, and that's, great time. So we just decided, let's see what happens. And it just took off kind of, we just, we've had to, the show, every show got a little better, a little more automatic. And now, we're really concentrating. Like when Bonnie was on, she was saying, okay, these bands, they got to start promoting, because that's the big difference now than then is we used to be sending out postcards to people on the mailing list, right? You'd have people fill out their address, right, at shows. Well, now, with the internet and social media, it's like you really being the older generation, we're not that tech savvy. So it took us a while to get that going, but now we're like, our promo, I do a lot of the promos because I'm a video guy kind of. And now we're to the point where when we go play these places that have the big screen, I have a whole video production going, and which really adds to the show. So, the point with Bonnie is she said, these bands, they got a promo too. So we really are really concentrating on, let's get the word out. Let's do the targeted ads. We brought a guy in from CHA who does production. He does great photographer, Chad, does videos, does social media. So he helped us out with that. And, now it's just, we're getting shows we wouldn't even dreamed of. We're getting, Wheels of Addison, we're getting Glendale Heights Fest and stuff. And it's just like,
sweet home, baby.
I'm peaking now. What's going on?
Well, and so you're a good lead in. So one thing I want to mention though, that I saw from the outside, and I'm not jamming with Krauser now, right? I mean, other than we may do a few songs at a show, but the game changer for him, what I saw at his age, and as we all gotten older, he went in-ear monitors. And as soon as he went in-ear monitors, he stopped pushing so much, right? And just relaxed and sang, and he's singing the best in his life in his 60s.
Yeah.
Way better than us. But I think a lot of it was because you're always trying to push. Yeah. Right? I mean, you know that better than anybody, Mike.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm still kind of the old school singer, right? I like to hear myself over the PA system or in the PA system, but you're absolutely correct. I mean, those in-ear monitors, they're a little bit to adjust to, but once you do, Mike, and as a singer, they're a voice saver without a doubt.
Well, I got the really good Shure wireless system, but realistically, I mean, we use the in-ears at practice all the time, but we don't use them that much live. I mean, the last 4 or 5 weeks, because like you, Mike, I like to feel the vibe of the crowd. I like to feel live sound. When you put those in-ears in, it can take a little adjustment, and it's
what I think is awesome. It's not only your ability to sound like Klaus Meins when you sing, dude. You got his voice down when you talk, and that kind of trips me out. California, California. I mean, you got that whole thing, and it's not like because there's a lot of tribute bands out there that they sound great on the songs when they're performing them. But when you talk, you sound like freaking Klaus.
Well, it's all I listen to. So it's like I got this thing in my head and going 24/7.
Right.
You pick up every time I listen to a live version, you pick up a little idiosyncrasy.
Give us a little something, man. Say something like Klaus.
There you go, Mike Dermott. How you doing, Mike Dermott?
It's awesome.
Oh, I always tell
them. Scotty Fietsam is here. And Molly.
But I would tell him, he would at his first couple shows, because he would start to talk, and I go, stay in character, and
well, it's hard when you're saying you're trying to talk about Facebook. You're like, hey, give us a like on Facebook. Oh, do you give us a like on Facebook? Because you can't understand what he says anyway.
Well, that's the beauty of it, because you can't understand him. And then he repeats himself. I love you, California, because you're California. It's hilarious.
Let me hear you in New York City. He's just he's got like a certain cadence.
Je ne sais quoi.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that is, I do want to mention that Tony, our Rudy, went into bypass surgery 10 days ago. So our prayers are out to him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's probably going to be out 3 to 6 months, but luckily, we got a hold of the Rudy for Love Drive, who actually works at the Forge. Great player. Played the show at the Forge. He's going to do the next one at Avenue 916, I think, in Indiana. But after that, Nevin from Vicious Circle, the guys at Beast, right? So
Right.
do all these rest of these shows until Tony comes back. We're playing with Van Whalen at Tony D's, May 17th. And we finally, after bugging Bonnie for 2 years, got a date at the Oar.
I pushed for you guys last year
Yes.
too, man. I know we worked on that. Fine, good.
It's a hard nut to crack, but we cracked it. So June 8th on a Sunday, which is perfect. I mean,
Sundays the days you want to be. June 8th on a Sunday. That's a great date.
with Downpour, which is an ACDC band.
So let me ask you this. You got your go-to song, man. I mean, you're putting your list together, Mike. You're taking a look at that thing and you're like, this is a song I'm looking forward to, and you either put it in the middle, wherever it is. What is that song? What's your go-to?
That's a hard one. I mean, I always like Always Somewhere.
Great song.
I mean, I like Smoke's Going Down, but it doesn't go over as well. I mean, the thing, we want to have an energetic, high energy show, but where the Scorpions kind of really excel is the ballads. The Winds That Changed. They're Still Loving You.
Holiday, Coming Home.
But you can only put so much of that in, right? Because
Right.
on a 90-minute show, you don't want to have a slow song every fourth song, so.
You just brought up a good point. I want to interrupt you there. So Always Somewhere is a song you're going to go to. When you think of those bands in the 80s and the ballads, was there a band better than the Scorpions when it came to putting together a freaking arena rock ballad? I say no fucking way.
I say no too. I would say, maybe Skid Row with I Remember You, but okay.
Def Leppard might come in pretty close, but
numerous great ballads.
Still Loving You, Loving You Sunday Morning, all the ones we just talked about.
Holiday.
Still Loving You. I mean, come on. How many times did you make out to that song, right, in high school? I mean, that was a song when you want to get some action. I don't know, maybe you put on some Zeppelin side, B, whatever. But I'm going to the Scorpions every time.
And that is the #1 song in Japan of all time. It's still
really Still Loving You.
But Winds That Change and other later, they had this period of 6 albums that went up to Crazy World is a great album. I mean, Hit Between the Eyes, Send Me an Angel, another great ballad, right? I mean, it was those 6 albums that really were their prime. But I go back to the Yulee era, and I like Life's Like a River. I like In Trance. I like Burn the Sky. All this stuff. And I think with Nevin, our plan is we want him to do the Uli and the Michael Schenker songs, which I think is kind of cool because now we have Matthias, now we have Schenker, he's probably going to do Piece of Meat, and Love Drive is a Schenker song. And a lot of people don't know that Rudy, some of the most quintessential Scorpions leads are done by Rudy. Rudy does Winds That Change. That's his lead. Rudy does Big City Nights. So, but we keep it like that. If Rudy does it, Tony does it. If Matthias does it, Brian does it. So we try to keep it real. And
you want to stay true to the way it was recorded.
Exactly. So that's what we do, to the equipment, to the guitars, to the tones. That's our goal. And as much as we can't wait for Tony to get back. Even when Tony gets back, we're hoping that he'll still come out. I mean, Nevin's a busy guy, right? He's got Vicious Circle. He's got 2 or 3 other bands, right? So, but when he's available, we're hoping he'll still come out
Right.
and, and do those parts. And then we'd like to incorporate maybe a little bit of acoustic part where we could put Send Me an Angel in and Winds of Change, maybe expand the show like to a 2-hour show where, we have the time to do that. But, sometimes you get these things, you got to play 60 minutes, well, or 75, you got to play, there's 7 or 8 songs you got to play, you got to play.
Right. You got to play the heavy hitters, man.
You got to do it. So, if we expand this thing, it'll be nice to be able to do a little more in-depth things like, we just put Speedy's Coming in and stuff like that, which are the old Uli Roth stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff back there, Life's Like a River is my favorite song. I still can't talk these guys into doing it. Oh, no one's going to know that. I go, yeah, well.
You got to do a song for yourself, man. So are you guys at the point now that it's getting easier to book or I guess a better way to say that, are clubs contacting you to say, hey, listen, we're doing this tribute night, or, we really want to get a Scorps band in. Are you guys getting to that point yet that you're getting the calls?
Way easier because we're to the point where like turning some stuff down because
awesome.
We want to have a little life balance. We don't want to be playing 4 times a month. We want to play 2 shows a month. That's a good pace for us, right? So, we were getting offers for, Wheels of Addison, 2 years ago. And when last time I went there, I don't know if you've ever been to that. It's on Thursday.
Right down the road, man. It's right down the road from me.
Places that do, the Arboretum, they do these odd nights, these Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, these villages. And I was shocked. There must have been 3,000-4,000 people there. I went and seen Love Drive, and we went and seen, there was a Judas Priest band. I can't remember the name, but they were really good.
Judas Rising?
Yeah, it could have been. There's 2 or 3 of them. It's just the name,
Yeah, that's okay.
And I was just, there's like 3,000 people here.
They do a really good job.
Eric, the bass player, was with me. I go, this is what we need. This is the places we need to play. And just through hard work and, getting a little better every show to the point where it's becoming a little more automatic. Like we're not so nervous anymore, where we were nervous, like, because everyone knows our parts and did someone forget to hit a drop pedal or something like that. Well, now we're kind of more relaxed. We're having more fun. And, you get to the point, you just can't really give a crap that much. When you give a crap how you play and being professional, but don't worry about everything. The back when you're younger, you worry about this, worry about that. You get this is off, this is up. Just go do it. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen anyway, right? So that's kind of the attitude we're taking. And one of your shows you mentioned the camaraderie, right? And that's a big part of it. I mean, we get done with practice, we sit down, we have a couple, Heineken Silvers, and we just laugh and bullshit and laugh. And before you know it, it's like, we have this mantra now, practice ended yesterday, because we start on Tuesday. Before you know it, it's like Wednesday. And like,
yeah, right.
Well, I got to get up to go to work. You guys got to get out of here. So, but it just, the time flies because we're just having a good time and we're discussing songs to do or discussing whatever, should we buy smoke machines? Should we do this? But, I think now is the time that we're kind of like hitting our stride. It took a while because we had some ups and downs with, medical issues and, hand issues and stuff, but, but we stuck it out. Let's wait it out. It's going to happen. And, now obviously Tony went out, so that's another kind of setback, but he'll be back. But the good thing is we were in a position that it wasn't that hard to find some people that want to come and play because they were digging it, right? So it's like, it was kind of, to get Nevin and to get, Sean Coogan, and he had a blast. I mean, he works at the Forge and does sound at the Forge. So that was a stroke of luck, right? We did have to cancel one show because this happened like 2 days before a show that he went into the hospital. It wasn't like a planned out thing. So we did cancel like the Q bar, but other than that, we got Sean and then we got Nevin. And then as soon as Tony comes back, they'll be back in the saddle and hopefully we can, have Nevin come out for appearances when he's got time and it'll just be that much more fun, so it's just, it's a good time. Let me tell you, it's a good time.
I'll make two comments here. One, the first time around, you know how it is. These guys were going into playing clubs for the first time, right? First time you go to the Vixen, you want to nail it. So there's a nerves about, we want to play here again. We better get this right. So now that they've made this circuit around, now I think I see it. They're just like, Glendale Heights Fest. No problem. We did it last year. We're doing it this year. Now you're going to have fun this year. So, you kind of check those boxes, right? And then with Tony, he's a great player and everything, but it does open the window for some additional songs. And going back, like you say, with genre, with these other guitar players, I think it's going to expand the success of the band. Nothing against him, because when he comes back, he'll be back in the saddle. But you guys are going to do some things that you hadn't done before, which I think is going to be really.
Well, yeah, because if you add that third guitar and his, especially a guy like Nevin, I mean, if he's doing this Uli stuff and Schenker stuff, and he had a good point. It's like a lot of times it's getting the foot in the door. That's the hard part. So every time we look at a place like we haven't played Sundance yet. We would love to play Sundance. We're going to try to get in there. We wanted to play
Bobby Carlsen. Are you hearing this? Bobby Carlsen.
Come on, Bobby. Let's go, baby.
Bobby will book you.
Come on,
Let's
Bobby.
go, Bobby.
I'm out to play.
We love you, Bobby, because you're Bobby.
But it's like, what's in getting back into what's really cool for me is I'm meeting all these people I didn't know, like Tavo. We're doing some hanging out at the pool and Wolfie, and I'm meeting guys like Marty and all these great guitar players, and I watching all these great singers like Taryn and Bobrowski and Chad
Van Dam.
Yeah, the greatest rock and roll name of all time, right? Chad. I mean, come on.
I always tell him, I go, that's Dormont's network. You stay out of his network.
Yeah, stay out. Stay out of.
Oh, man, that's what
I'm forgetting.
That's what this is all about, though, right? It's funny because when we were growing up, everything was competition. You're always competing with this band or that band. But as we get older, and you're even talking about it with practice, it's not so much about that anymore. It really is about the camaraderie and building a community and building new friendships. You mentioned Tavo. Tavo's been around us, me and Feets, for years. And you've known Feet since third grade, yet you guys never crossed paths. And it's awesome to see as we grow older in our old age that we're all starting to come closer and closer together. When in most areas of life, the older you get, the further away you get from people. You really start to become more reclusive. I love what this community has done, this music community. It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
This music community is dying off. Are any of these kids catching on? Like, thank God for Dankelson and Wolfie.
Yeah.
Are you seeing? Are they gravitating towards the Scorps or Zeppelin? What do you guys see?
Kind of a mix, because like as far as Pete's Diary, he's a big AC/DC guy, and you can feel it in his music. I've been, I listened to the Wrecked album with Dan Leonard, great stuff, and it's kind of heavy, but it's rock and roll, straight up rock and roll. Bone Shaker, same thing with them. And but these are not the young guys, but I don't see that many.
Who's in Bone Shaker?
Bob Cozza, and I don't know. I don't really.
That's
know
all, Bob Cozza
and Brian Strocek.
Yeah.
We're just giving a shout out to Cozza.
But the
man.
The thing I enjoy the most is when we do play. It's like I don't think we play with a bad band. Every band we play with Sins and Roses. Great band. That guy, guitar player, is amazing. Perfect tone. The singer, the Christian, nails it. Electric Phase at Reggies. That guitar player, what's his John?
John Ron.
John Braun.
And then they have that keyboard player and it's like, oh my God. That night it was album night, so we did Blackout and they did Strangers in the Night. And I just stood there like, oh my God. It's like, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
We played with Bonfire. those guys, it's just amazing. So every show, you meet these people and you meet these bands, and it's like, wow. I mean, just to be in that same orbit of these guys is,
But to Pete's point though, we're all kind of still playing on our own playground, right? We're not inviting the new kids in to join in that. I think if we don't, as the ambassadors of our music, try to entice and encourage some of the youth to even just come out and see the shows, or maybe do shows and get them on the bill to help keep this thing
Only
going.
charge people that are over 50.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I don't know. I think there's things that we can do as a community to help, pass that torch and keep it growing.
You're completely right, because it's like, when you see all the bands out there, the ones that, the usual suspects in all the fests, it's like, they all seem to be older guys, right? Just like me, just like,
well, we're not
like
getting
you
any
guys.
younger year by year, so it's definitely older guys.
Oh, we're doing it. We obviously, we make a little money? Yeah, but we're not, no one's getting rich anymore doing
Wait,
this.
what? You mean I'm
No
not going to make any money off of this?
Who got rich?
No one's getting
Oh,
rich.
Seventh Heaven. Never mind.
Oh,
No, that's that's Richie.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Richie.
Yeah. So it's like, we're trying to just keep this legacy alive. We do it because we love it, because at this point in life, I don't want to be singing. I mean, there's certain bands I don't want to really do. I won't mention them. People kind of know a few bands I don't want to do.
Come on, who don't you want to do? Let's go.
I think there's enough people doing like Journey, for instance, and stuff like that. Because it's people who are doing it, and they're doing it really well. Do we need another one? I don't.
I think
so. Journey deserves the air quotes.
I think there should be like a limit on how many bands can perform Journey within a certain radius. You know how it is when you book at a club, you can't book, within 2 weeks within a 25-mile radius. I think they should do the same thing with Journey cover bands or Journey music in general.
But it's like, to some point, it's like, okay, this is what the general public wants to hear.
Yeah,
no, the soccer moms, they love it, they go crazy, and it's like, God bless them, but it's just like, all right, enough people are doing that. What can we do? Well, guess what? Scorpions, there's no competition. That's a big plus for us, right? So why do another band? Can we do a Zeppelin band? Probably, but why? There's 4 other ones out there.
Real good ones too, right? It's not
really good one. We played with Kashmir at the last year's
fantastic.
They've been around forever. It's like, let's do something that, number one, Scorpions were a huge 90s band. No one's doing it. Why? I don't know. Is it the vocals? Is it no one wants to hear it? I don't think it's that. I just think no one's doing it. So let's do it. And this is what we do best anyway. So it's
it's a win-win.
Mikey O, before we get to band calendars, you got anything?
Actually, I am going to Las Vegas on Thursday.
Nice.
And I'm going to go to the Sphere, and I'm going to see Dead and Company, and hopefully I'll keep some of the brain cells that I still have.
Don't pay up for the middle seats. You don't need to.
Nah. I'm on the main floor, actually.
The main floor is AI, dude. Mike and Scotty, what shows you got coming up? I'm going to put your calendar right here.
Saturday, March 10th, Avenue 912 at Rat. That's in Griffith, Indiana. So, we're becoming,
March 10th?
We're national now. We're going to Wisconsin or something, right?
Did you say March 10th?
March?
May 10th.
May.
Oh,
yeah, May.
March is past.
No, it's just written on.
We'll let it dead on post.
May 10th, Avenue 916 with Rat and Roll. And again, another great band we played with. I mean, was that Rick Spinato? Is that the guitar player?
Yeah, Rick.
That's because that's one thing Big City Nights does is we stay if we're playing first, we stay for the band and support.
Good for you.
And that was one of the shows I just stood in front of the stage and watched this guy, and I was just like,
Rick rocks. He's a Rick rock.
Holy cow. So Saturday, May 17th, we're at Tony D's with Van Whalen, which is kind of a good, cool name. That's in Elmwood Park. And then we mentioned the Broken Oar. Thank you, Bonnie, for letting us.
Bonnie.
And Mike and Todd. A lot of people have been in their ear, and Beth, where's Beth? Where's her cowbell? She should be coming in here with her,
She's booking us out to 20.
You got to put that picture of
27.
her.
28.
So that's at the Broken Oar with Downpour. And then we're at Tailgaters Saturday, June 21st. I don't really know who with, but super jacked. It's that July 3rd with the Cover Dogs at Addison Rock and Wheels. And it's the firework night. So, and we're playing last, which is great because now we get the lights. The lights make a difference, right? I mean, if you play in the daytime, like last year when we did Glendale Heights Fest, we played before Zeppelin. Then Zeppelin came on and they had that big screen and the whole video production. And it was just like, man, that just killer, makes it a killer show. So lucky enough that we'll be playing last and have the lights, which will be great. And then the week after that, I think Glendale Heights acts the Thursdays. Now they're just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So now we're with them July 11th with Semple Band. And isn't he with, I can't remember who
he was Seventh Heaven.
He was Seventh Heaven, but Semple has his own thing. Then he has a band, an original band, Siberium.
Yeah, so I'm not too familiar with him. I've seen him out there. I haven't had the opportunity to see him, but I've heard great things.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
that's cool.
Yep.
And then, now we're into August. We're doing that Tribute Island, like
Nice.
Friday, August 1st at 7:30.
Oh, nice. See
So,
you
I
in
mean,
Kenosha.
these are shows we would have never, a year ago, would have never dreamed that we'd ever get.
Scotty Fiets, what do you got going on, man? Are you jamming anywhere? Or are you just doing the pedal thing, man? You're pedaling your pedals.
Yep. That's what I do.
Does Morley have any big events coming up? Any expos, conferences?
Well, so here's the thing. Let's go back. You guys mentioned, I think Pete said, how do we get the youth involved? And I mean, Mike, you do enough of these Coterie events that, I mean, I think when I think now with Krauser, okay, you guys are headlining. There's young guys out there playing, but they're having the same trouble. They can't get booked.
Yes.
We should be able to use our contact and our influence to actually bring these guys up on stage.
I agree.
Take a band out with you. I saw young kids opening at Rock House that I didn't know, and they were pretty good doing covers. They would love to open for, and they would travel.
All you need is a break, man. Give the kids a break.
So maybe that's part of what we need to do.
We're all for that.
I'm in.
Because I mean, the Rock House is starting to do that, where these original young bands are opening for like a Rock Brigade, which I think is great, because it's like he said, these kids can't get a break. We couldn't get a break, trying to get booked, and we're the older generation.
Yeah.
Because everyone's kind of a little hyper focused on, what's tried and true. Let's put it that way. No one wants to take a chance on
Yeah, but when you're the headlining slot, you could just say, we're bringing these guys in with us. I mean, most people
They'll work for peanuts.
Well, On the Rocks did that.
Just say they're your roadies, man. We're bringing our roadies along. They're gonna do a quick set.
But, out here, it's when you go, if you move closer to the city, you get more of that. Like when you go to Reggies and you go to places like that, there's a lot more original bands. And if you've been to Reggies, that place is insane. I don't know if you've ever been there.
They have a great video system that you should take advantage of if you haven't.
They have that one room in back, the big room. And it was just, I went in there and it was like kind of the thrash bands, like, the screamer bands. So I went in there and it's just packed, and I'm looking at these shirts and I see this shirt up there and I just started laughing. I go, I'm buying that shirt because
you can't even read it. It's those words you can't even.
But the name of the band was called Sea of Shit. I go, I gotta have a sea of shit.
I swam that sea a few times. I'm gonna tell you right now.
To get where I am.
Make sure you have a snorkel. You don't want to get that shit in your mouth.
The sea was angry, my friends, like an old man sitting back at a deli.
Speed of shit.
Bongo Mike, you played Saturday.
Soul.
You played Saturday at Sundance. What do you got coming up?
I got nothing this week. I'm off, and then I'm at Broken Oar on May 3rd. Yeah, May 3rd, Broken Oar, 2:30 to 6 o'clock with the Mosquitos, classic rock.
The
all kinds of
Mosquitos.
stuff. Yeah.
You were on the Gilligan's Island at one time, weren't you?
Yeah, this is where we got the name from. You got it. Ding, 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 ding.
There it is.
Win.
That's
Yep.
hilarious.
Scott and Mike, thanks for showing up, putting up with us today.
Awesome.
Great job,
going.
Scott. Great job, Mike.
Way to come
Hopefully-
prepared, boys. You did your homework.
Oh my God, yeah, you got.
Well, as far as BCN, we're gonna milk this cow for, you never know what's gonna happen down the road. So one thing, one thing as I personally get older, it seems like every day, the next day is a little bit more important, because the one thing you can never buy back is time. And I look back at, like, first Glendale Heights Fest in '77, it's like the time is gone, right? So it's like, you better make every day count from here on out, because when you hit that third three-quarter pole heading for home, man, that's the most important part, that you better do the things you want to do. Yeah. I mean, travel, we're taking cruises now that we never did. It's a good time of life.
You're turning off your lights like this?
Yeah,
But
that's
you better take advantage. Yeah.
But Dermot, you and I still have a few times on stage together. Coming
well,
up.
I look forward to it, buddy. And I would love to do something, get Tavo on stage, and when he's helping, do a couple old Bell Kyer jams that we used to do. That'd be a lot of
Tavo
fun.
up there mock, and we can throw Wolfgang behind the kit.
Without a doubt.
And then Mock, I gotta say something about Mock. It's like, I'm just so amazed. I sing, I could play a little tambourine, I could drum and sing a little, but these guys who play instruments, and I mean, the amount of electronics that guy is dealing with, I mean, I'm just shocked. How does this guy do this? I mean, you got it's just Wolfie and the three guys. It's just amazing how they just, guys hitting pedals, and this guy's is so electronic, and those guys will tell you at BCN that I get harassed all the time because I'm so non-technical. Like, I get yelled at. Dude, it's 3 chords. How you've been hooking this stuff up for 2 years. You still can't figure out. So I'm constantly getting berated. And Mojo will tell you the same. It's like they like to pick on the singers, but it's kind of fun for me. I just go off with it.
Boys, I need everybody's help. Can everybody just clap twice?
Ready?
1, 2.
Oh,
1, 2, 3.